Nah, just John Chism. John, come on up.
Okay, the story continues, a new chapter from Stars Reach Out, the Sun Pulls In. So, it's a novel about AIDS activism, and tonight's chapter focuses on Daryl, who is a little skinhead who just graduated from college, and he lives in East Village. It takes place in 1989, it's in the latter part of the summer. Other things besides the envelope stuffing were happening that chilly Saturday morning. There was needle exchange, there was a teaching on civil disobedience. Daryl ran that morning to an apartment where he and another activist named Brian were taking a conference call. He arrived panting, moisture was in the air, the breeze smelled like the Atlantic Ocean. Brian was a tall, pale, hardcore activist from the militant 60s. He was HIV positive but asymptomatic. A lot of the treatment activists were HIV positive, most of them disliked Brian, but they felt he was ambitious and manipulative. The apartment was filled with boxes of flyers and notebooks on AIDS and on gay issues. The phone rang. Brian took the phone in the kitchen, Daryl, the one by the window. Everyone was on and ready to go. 2 other New Yorkers, an activist in Miami, and several on the West Coast. Brian cut in aggressively, trying to take control. Everyone was well accustomed to his games. One of the West Coast people, a doctor who, like Brian, was HIV positive, said, "Remember, we're all coordinating this campaign together, okay?" The call's purpose was to design a broad plan to make the government focus more on opportunistic infections. Their goal that morning was to review prevalent diseases one at a time and delve into the treatment situation relative to each. Shingles, herpes, cytomegalovirus were among the first. Jesse, a New York activist, recalled how a recent friend suffering from all sorts of illnesses had a herpes sore covering his entire face. They discussed Foscarnet and proposed a demand to make acyclovir as a herpes prophylaxis the standard of care. Shingles made Alexandra recall how a gay male friend of hers had woken up one morning feeling like his arm had been sunburned, only to find himself in the hospital hours later, his entire left side covered by shingles. CMV was by far the most serious of those first 3 infections discussed. Blindness, visceral involvement, even pneumonia could be caused by CMV. And the government isn't planning any CMV trials except for retinitis, said one of them. It was true. They discussed ganciclovir, foscovir again, but also HPMPC. Now Daryl researched this obscure drug a little, reported on the inhibitory index in vitro. He said the mechanism isn't completely known, but its performance in the test tube seems strong. 8,000 patients with HIV were enrolled in government trials, but less than 1/10 of the trials were related to OIs, and yet it was opportunistic infections people were dying of. The activists discovered wasting syndrome, candidiasis, the need for more female representation in the trials. As the conference wore on, they wearily sipped their coffee, smoked and talked while wondering how ailing friends were doing. They covered cryptosporidiosis, which could cause terrible diarrhea. I have crypto, said the doctor in California. He filled them in on diclazerol. He actually lost a patient 2 years before to crypto, so he got the jitters about it now and then. PML was next on the list, then another killer, MAI, which was distantly related to TB. Before they wound up with PCP and Kaposi sarcoma, Brian tried to filibuster. As the other New York activists struggled to put him in his place, the regional activists broke in and scolded the New Yorkers for hogging the platform. Daryl was tired by the end. For every campaign in the coalition, there had to be a subcommittee. For every issue, crisis, or controversy, there had to be 2 or 3 activists taking charge as point people. The coalition was huge, but there was no end to the energy drain. Daryl's head may have been swimming by the end of the call, but he felt they had covered a lot of ground. Thank you very much.